So I had a student who hated reading, absolutely hated it. And for a year and a half, every single class was a battle. Then one day he walked in holding a book from his school library. This book was Cat Kid Comic Club, and he read the entire class. It was beautiful. He was so proud, so confident, and I stayed extra with him just to keep him going. So we stayed extra after class, and that momentum continued. And today I'm going to show you exactly which books do that and which ones work best for kids ages 8 to 12. So if you're helping a child grow their confidence in English, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. I share strategies that help students move from understanding English to clearly expressing their ideas. I'm Teacher Allie. I'm a former Fulbright English teaching assistant, and I work with students around the world every week, helping students who feel shy or stuck become confident and fluent English speakers. So, this is the number one thing I hear from parents is, hey, my child understands English well, does well on tests, can demonstrate high levels of listening comprehension, reading comprehension. But the second that they speak, they shut down. And this is normal. And it's not because they're shy or they're bad at English, it's because speaking requires something extra. And books are a magical tool because they solve this in a way that drills and worksheets never can. And I'm going to show you exactly why. So before I get into the books, let me tell you a little bit more about this student. At the time we had started working together, he was 8. And for about a year and a half, he was just struggling to read. He hated it. I think we've tried so many different books, so many different topics. One topic that really got him to read was soccer, but because it was more of a textbook reading, he wasn't into it. The second he brought Cat Kid, this was an unlock. This comic book was great for him. It was at his level. He was interested in it. That was the key. And also, he was so excited to read something that wasn't like a textbook. It felt cool to read. It was more like how native English speakers talk, which was great because there was a lot more colloquial language. So it didn't feel as rehearsed. And when I saw this student who hated reading, hated it, go from hating reading to loving it, not being able to put this book down, this is exactly why I make these videos, is to help your child go from hating reading to being excited and not wanting to put the book down. So if you want your child getting guided speaking practice every week, I run an online English Confidence Club for kids 8 to 12, and the link is in description. But let's get back to books. And if you are new here, go ahead and hit subscribe. I post practical tips like this every week for parents just like you. All right, so speaking feels so much harder than reading or writing. And once you understand why, everything else makes sense. So when a child speaks, they have to do many things at the same time. They have to organize their thoughts, they have to find the right words, and they have to be confident enough to say them out loud. And that's a lot at one time, right? That's why many students freeze. And I felt that when I was learning Spanish too, that overwhelming feeling. So books are a great tool and they help with all three of these things. I'm going to show you exactly how as we go through. All right, so the magic of books is that they give students a topic that they actually care about. So in my English courses, every single book will be, or material will be student-centered. This means that they will be telling me what they're interested in, and I will be finding materials that they want to learn about, because that's the number one key to learning a language is student interest, especially for kiddos 8 to 12. So when a child loves a story, they want to talk about it. They can't help it. They're so excited, right? Suddenly they're not thinking about grammar. They're thinking about what happened to the character. And they're also thinking about how this applies to their own life too. And this is when the real English comes out. Not perfect English, but real English. And this is what builds confidence. So let's go ahead and jump into the books. These are my top picks for 8 to 12-year-olds. Okay, so I only picked a few because there are so many, but these are the top ones I would recommend to parents. So if you have a really reluctant reader, like my student that I was sharing about earlier, Start here. So this is the book, Dog Man. Dog Man is a graphic novel. So the pictures carry a lot of the story and they don't feel as overwhelmed by the pages of text. So the humor, the kids love, and they are laughing the whole time. So it's great to see them understanding the jokes, understanding the humor. And remember, laughter is one of the best things for language learning. And because the story is visual, kids can actually retell. And it is so great. And it's a huge skill for speaking, is the ability to retell the events of a story. So I've had kids summarize entire Dog Man chapters in English without even realizing that, hey, I'm practicing my English. They're just excited to tell me about the book. Awesome. Yeah, and I have done many Halloween or holiday themed activities, and with a book kind of like this. And the students were so excited. They were engaged, they were learning about a new holiday, and they were so excited to connect to it. And they didn't even realize that they were speaking English the whole time, which was great. Another book that I recommend is Diary of a Wimpy Kid. So you might have a student or a child who has read this. And this is perfect because Greg is the main character and he's super relatable in like a really funny way. So he's a little dramatic and kids love him for this. And there are situations in the book that kids actually experience. So school stress, friends, embarrassing moments. We've all been there, right? So kids love Greg and Diary of a Wimpy Kid. When kids relate to a story, they have opinions about it. And opinions are gold for speaking practice. So you can ask your child lots of follow-up questions or questions for deeper understanding, such as, do you think Greg did the right thing? Was that the right choice? Why? If your child is a little more advanced, go ahead and ask why. Make them think a little deeper. And then you can watch them create those answers and connect it even to their personal life. So this is great for humor as well because kids love to tell me about the funny moments. And retelling is a great exercise for speaking. Good. And this one is a little bit different. So I run a lot of Magic Treehouse book clubs. My students love these book clubs. And this is a little different because it's adventure based. So this means that there's always something exciting happening. The chapters are short, easily digestible, which means that kids get really excited. Like, hey, they can check it off. I finished chapter 1. I finished chapter 2. And that feeling of, hey, I just completed a chapter is so important for my readers who despise reading. They hate it. They're reluctant readers. And the books involve a lot of culture, history, travel from different places around the world. And kids have so much fun to explain and describe when they talk about them. For example, there is a book about ninjas in Japan, and I have lots of students who travel to Japan. So this was a great one for my students to, relate to. They can connect their personal experience from their travel to Japan with the book. So this was really exciting for them. And these books are super awesome for kids who love facts, and they can tell you everything they learned about a character or a place. So I want to show you something super practical that you can do at home with your child with any of these books. So stay with me. And remember, if you are finding this helpful, go ahead and hit subscribe and like, because there is a lot more tips where this came from. All right, so here is the most important part that some videos skip. So what do you actually do with the book, right? So it's great to get your child reading, but it's that step after the book that really shows growth. So after your child reads, even just one chapter, go ahead and ask 3 questions. Why do you think this happened? This builds really great reasoning and opinions. What would you do in this situation? So this makes it personal. They're connecting it to their own life. They could use sentence starters like, I would do X because Z, right? Or they can use real conversational English here. And another question is, hey, what do you think happens next? And this skill of prediction is really, really powerful for engagement and language. So you don't need to correct their grammar during this. Just listen, react, ask follow-up questions, and of course, give praise. Make them feel comfortable and excited to talk to you in English. Great. So the whole point of this is to have a conversation and to create another safe space to practice English. All right, so 3 things that I tell every parent that I work with. So encourage your child to explain the story in English. Even if it's messy, it's okay if it's messy. That's when they're working through their thoughts, and that's where real growth comes from. And number 2, ask questions. You don't need to know every detail of the book, but curiosity is enough. So seeing your parents getting excited to ask your child a question, your child's going to be just as excited to tell you about the book. Number 3, so we're going to celebrate effort, not perfect grammar. So if your child speaks 3 sentences in English about their book, that is a huge win. And you need to tell them that. You need to say, great job. I'm so proud of you for reading. Let's continue. And the goal isn't to have a perfect accent or perfect sentences. The goal is to have a child who's willing to speak. And that willingness, it changes everything and really leads to confident speakers. Okay, so a small shift for parents. So this is a mindset shift I want every parent watching this to take away today. Instead of thinking, is my child's English grammatically correct? Think, hey, how much is my child talking? Listen to their ideas. Go ahead and encourage them to explain. Celebrate that effort. And a child who feels heard in English will continue to speak and will continue to take risks. It's that simple. This is exactly what happened with my student and the cat kid. So nobody was grading him. He was just proud. And that feeling of being proud or pride turned into confidence, which was great. All right, so strong readers can become excellent communicators, but only if they have opportunities to speak, interesting topics to talk about, and someone who supports them. So you watching this video means that your child already has that third thing, a parent who cares. So these 2 books already give you the first 2, opportunities to speak and interesting topics. So you don't need a fancy curriculum. You just need the right books and a curious conversation. Awesome. Thank you so much for watching. If you are interested in group lessons, go ahead and click in the link below. I'd love to work with your child and help them go from shy speakers to a confident English speaker. All right, so if your child already enjoys reading in English, that is a wonderful foundation. The next step is turning those stories into real conversations, and that's exactly what we do together in my classes. So I'd love to know, what books does your child enjoy reading right now? So go ahead and drop it in the comments. I read every single one. And if this video was helpful, please subscribe and share with another parent. So I love to help kids all around the world, and I'd love to help your child. So I'll see you in the next video.